CEOs of big companies, and it took 20 minutes to get that answer. I couldn't believe that they covered everything, including toilet paper and rice. For guys who trade on the stock markets, I would have thought they would have known that question. Well, when Tony rang me earlier, a few months ago, and talked to me about following up and speaking today and tomorrow, he gave me the two topics. And I said, well, frankly, Tony, they're boring. And so what I said, here, well, let's take the titles and let's put two other subjects around that, because I like to talk practically about these particular issues and how, you know, we're on a journey and how has it affected me. So I've titled this, Life's a Journey, Not a Destination. Because when you start a business or a career or a relationship, there are many years go by and situations change and things will happen, and there is always that opposition, that wedge, that disagreement, and it's very hard to maintain a reconciliation in a partnership in business, or with staff, or with customers, or in a relationship. And many things happen, and I want to share 8 things that I've seen in my own life over the years that kept me on track or got me back on track to maintaining an attitude and a lifestyle of reconciliation in each of those. So the key thing we've got to understand is we're not here to get by and pay bills. We're here to succeed and be successful, to be a blessing to other people. And I have too many business people that want to get out of business into ministry, and even people in ministry that want to get into business. And I said, do you believe your business is a ministry? And are you passionate about your business? And they go, yes. Well, I said, that's your ministry. We're to be light of the world out in the marketplace. Whether we have a career that we're developing, or casually, or whether we own a business, whether it's small, medium, or large. In 1972, the Uruguay football team were flying with their family and officials, and their plane crashed in snow-covered mountains. And almost everyone on that flight survived. And every day for 4 weeks they would listen to the rescue, how it was going. And after 4 weeks, only 3 men were listening to the rescue. And on this particular day, they heard on the radio reports that the rescue had been called off. So only one of the 3 men said he would announce it to the group. So it always only takes one person to stand up and make a difference in a business or career and a relationship. And it always requires someone to start the process, to bring things back to a reconciliation, or to get the business back on track, or the relationship. And on this particular day, this one person said, I'll announce it to the group. So they called everyone together. And they all came with, I don't know, some type of expectation. And this one man said, I've got great news for you. So everyone got really excited. He said, the rescue's been called off. And no one said anything for a few minutes, but eventually someone sang out, how can that be good news? And he immediately said, because now we're going to have to find our own way out of here. And the story goes that everyone who survived the crash made it out alive. You see, one person was able to make a difference. And to rebuild a relationship, a business, a career, a marriage, it always sometimes starts with one person who's prepared to stand up and speak up in the community. So I want to bring about some practical, actually 8 points, 8 practical things about being people of reconciliation in business and relationship. And here are a few things that have helped me on the journey, because we're called to be different in the business world, in the marketplace, in our families, in our church circles, in our community. We're called to be different. We're called to be reconcilers. Jesus reconciled us, provided the way for us to be reconciled to Him and to God. And we are those carriers of reconciliation to take that out in the business world. And you would not think that in the Christian community, and particularly amongst business people, because often they can create greatest conflict. Because when they're successful, they get greedy. When they're successful, they get big-headed. You know, they think they're the best. And they start to treat people badly. And I've seen that many times over the many years that I've been working. So here are the 8 things. Are you ready? Number one, whose report are you listening to? Every day we get reports in the media and from family and friends, from other business associates, but we also get reports from the Word of God. And we've got to make a decision of who we're going to listen to. In the Amplified version of the Bible, in Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 14, it says, I've heard a report from the Lord. So we have to decide who we're going to listen to. And too many Christians and business people listen to the media too much. As the global financial crisis got going some years ago, a young businessman came to me and he said, what do I do about the global financial crisis? I said, stop watching the news. Well, he laughed. But I said, 3 months ago, before that, I said I was getting stressed out, anxious, and it was being reflected in my attitude to other people and my wife. And I was getting angry quickly, and I realised I was watching too much news. So I cut it back. But you've got to replace it with encouraging things. When you go to church, you've got to be in church, you've got to listen to the message, you've got to take notes. And in these sessions you're going to have, we've already had 2 this morning, you should be writing one thing down at least that you're going to do that's going to make a difference on the journey, because God's always speaking to us about what he has to say. So we've got to decide who we're going to listen to. When I was 13 years of age, which was a long time ago, I was in 2nd year of high school, and we didn't have all the media that we have today. And word of mouth was very powerful, and fellow students would be talking about this red peril that you would have. You'd wake up in the middle of the night and there'd be someone under your bed with a machine gun and they'd jump out and shoot everyone. Well, I was fairly naive back then. Some people say that hasn't changed today. But in the end, that got into my spirit. I got really anxious. And you know what kids, students are like? When they sense something, they make it worse. And they encourage it. And I got this real fear. But a few months later in that year, in my time with God, I sense he said something very specific. And he said, it's not over till I say it's over. This world is not going to end till I say it's going to end. And that was like peace came over me almost immediately. And I thought it was a word for that day. I didn't realise, yes, it was a word for that day. I didn't realise in many years to come that was going to be as relevant for business as anything else. So in 2002, 8 minutes past midnight, we get a call at home to say your warehouse is on fire. Now, we have 92 stores in Australia at that time, and I'm not good at that time of night, so my wife gets to the telephone, and she says, the warehouse is on fire. I said, thank goodness, I'm dreaming. She said, you're not. And we jumped out of bed, we drove there, and there was this trickle of smoke. In an hour, it was alight. This was our coffee roasting plant, our warehouse, our office. And it burnt for 3 days and burnt to the ground. After about 2 hours, the fire chief said, you might as well go home, there's nothing you can do here. We went home, and we laid on the bed and talked. You didn't get back to sleep with this happening. And I said to my wife, I need to be back at 5:30 in the morning before the first warehouse men arrive at 6 o'clock. At 5:30 I get back and I go, wow, this is going to be a different day. There are now 31 fire engines, 3 television news helicopters, all the radio, media, newspapers, fire chief, there was everything there. And I get this call. And it's from a courier 2 hours away. He said, I've just heard the news. I collected 2 new store orders yesterday. Do you want me to bring the stock back? Now, I've learned over the years, when you make a decision, don't make it for today, you make it for the future. I've also learned that if you're in front of the media, don't give them too much talk, because they cut it and they put a different twist on the story. So I haven't had no sleep, I'm tired, and I'm thinking, yes, bring the stock back, because we need it. But then I thought, we've got 92 stores. What's 2 store orders going to do? But at least it's something. And no, I sensed the tweak in my spirit, and words my wife always reminded me, having a good wife is really good. Remember, what God births is going to make happen. God has not birthed this business for it to die or to be burnt out. He has a purpose. And in fact, just getting off the track, that was the catapult to take this business to 400, nearly 500 stores in Australia and then to 39 countries around the world. That one of the things that was used out of that to make that happen. Anyway, this is 5:30 in the morning. And before I said, yes, bring the stock back, I said, no, we're opening 2 new stores tomorrow as a testimony. At 6 o'clock, the roasting guys come, the guys who roast the coffee. And they look really down. We've lost our jobs. What about our mortgage? Can't put food on the table. I said, guys, it's okay, the coffee's all roasted. Well, they didn't laugh. Then the cleaner came, a lady. I said, you're going to need more than that. And she didn't laugh. I said, guys, work with me here. I need to get on a roll. Immediately, one of the major television networks puts a camera in my face and a microphone, making sure the fire is raging in the background. And the only question is, you're going to have to close. Now remember, I made a decision 30 minutes early for the future. And I said, no, we're opening 2 new stores tomorrow. And that's all I said, because it's news. If I say any more, they'll cut the message. And that went out, no, we're opening 2 new stores tomorrow, went out as a testimony nationally, on every news bulletin. We sent a message to anyone who was going to be watching or listening, we're not going anywhere. Inside, I've got no idea. All we've got is a vision, because God birthed vision in us, with our business, with our careers, with our relationships. And that's what we've got to lift. When we think a wedge is coming, when we've got to get back on the same program, with our partners, with our staff, with our own lives, we get back onto the program that God's taken us on the journey. He doesn't want us to be separated or split. So we've got to ask ourselves, whose report are you listening to? I could have listened to the report of the media and all the thoughts in my head. But I thought, no, God's report is, I birthed this, I'm going to make it happen. Number 2, there are stages of life. The biggest mistake with young people is they finish university or school and think they've made it when they've got a job or they start a business. No, the journey's only just started. If you sell your business and start another one, the journey is only just started or only continuing. And we tend to want to settle down and get comfortable. God's not into us for settling down and becoming comfortable, because there are people to be won in this world. And in the Old Testament, when God's people settled down, he ripped them up and moved them on. Because he said, I want you to listen, learn and grow. Because when you're listening, you're learning, you're going to grow. He wants you to grow in your relationship with him. And when you grow, your business grows, your career grows, your church grows. It's just an automatic thing that happens if you're listening to God. And what his people did was, they wanted to settle down, get comfortable. When they did that, they became disillusioned, unhappy, and did things they shouldn't do, because they were not listening and they weren't growing. I had a business guy come to me and said, I'm really comfortable now. I'm earning enough money to put food on the table, put the kids through school and pay the mortgage. And I said, maybe that's selfish. He said, what do you mean? I said, because if you could earn a little bit more, as long as it doesn't become your God, you can help more people. He said, I didn't even think about that. We're not here to take up a seat on the planet. We're here to win people and bring people back into relationship. And in the business world, that's what our calling is, to actually do. So there are stages of life, and we need to get ourselves ready. And we need to be listening to what God says. We need to put plans in place for our business and our career, and how our family is going to grow. If we do nothing, nothing happens. And I came across a verse 2 years ago in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 19. Isaiah 43:19, and it says, God says, I'm about to do something new. And I realise God's always about to do something new in our business, in our relationships and in our careers. But we always want to settle. We always want to get it manageable. I've learned God doesn't want us to be managing it. He's got bigger things for us to do. And the verse goes on to say, I'll even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. So if you're going through a tough time in your career or business, God says, I will even make this happen through the difficult times. So you need to have a vision, and it needs to be a big vision. When I speak to business people, I said, I've got it wrong. I used to tell people you need a vision. No, you need a big vision, because it will come under attack. Not everyone is happy if your business is growing. Not everyone is happy if you have a good relationship. They don't understand it, and they'll try and bring a wedge. They'll try and attack that, and that includes the media. So have a vision and a dream. There's a man called Monty Roberts. He's the author of The Man Who Listens to Horses. And he calls these people dream stealers, who don't understand why you have a vision or dream. If God births you. They want to say you'll never amount to anything. They want to diminish its worth to you. He calls them dream stealers. When he was in school, he was given an assignment to write his dreams. And Monty wrote that he would like to own his own 200-acre ranch and raise thoroughbred racehorses. His teacher gave him an F and explained that he deemed his dream unrealistic. The teacher was certain no one living in a camper van on the back of a pickup truck would ever be able to accumulate enough money to buy a ranch, horses, and pay ranch hands. The teacher even gave Monty the opportunity to rewrite his assignment to get a better mark. Monty told the teacher, you keep the F and I'll keep my dream. And today Monty has that ranch. Now I'm not telling you should tell someone else, be nasty to other people, but you've got to be careful who you're listening to and what they do in discouraging you in your dream. Number 3, you don't need to know everything. You see, I thought when I got married, you knew everything. Well, let me tell you, reality kicked in immediately. I thought you knew everything when you started a business. Well, you don't. It's a journey. And a lot of things happen on that journey. And then I came across a great verse in Deuteronomy Chapter 29, verse 29. Very easy to remember, Deuteronomy 29, and it says, the secret things belong to God, and the things revealed to us belong to us. And what I realised when God revealed that verse to me was that He's shown me many things over my working life, and I always ask for more. Then I realised I'm not going to get any more until I actually do what He's already shown me. I want more, but I never actually action the things He's already shown me. And if I start actioning those things, then there'll be more revealed to me. But I'm not going to know everything, because I would be God, and let me trust me, I'm not. So we need to get on with the things God's revealing to us all the time. You say, I don't have the right credentials to start a business or grow my business to a bigger level. Well, Benjamin Franklin had less than 2 years formal schooling, yet he started America's first library. At 31, he started the first fire department. At 36, he designed a heating stove that's still in use today. At 40, he harnessed the power of electricity. And at 45, he founded the nation's first university. And at 79, he invented bifocals. He was an economist, philosopher, diplomat, inventor, educator, publisher, and linguist who spoke and wrote in 5 languages. I have enough problems with English, but he had 5 of them languages. Chances are you already have more education than he had when he was your age. And if we add these 2 promises, the Lord is my helper, from Hebrews 13:6, and I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength, from Philippians, we have more than enough to do what God's called us to do. In every aspect of life, business, relationships, and being people of a reconciliation. Number 4, one of my favourite subjects is be a people builder. Unfortunately, in partnerships in business, they start well, finish badly. I had 3 young people come to me and said, we're going to get involved in business together. And I said, how are you going to solve disagreements? They said, that's okay, we've never argued. I said, well, it's just about to start. Because it all starts well, but then resentment comes, anger, Someone thinks they work harder than the other person. Someone thinks they're earning more than the other person. So I said, you've got to work out a way of how you meet together, not to talk about the day-to-day of business, but to actually keep the relationship alive. Over the last few years, I've had 3 businesses with 2 partners in each business, and the business closed. They were very simple things that would resolve the issue, but the 2 partners would not be in the same room together. If we could get them in the room, we could have solved very simple things and the business would continue. But they were so angry with each other, they refused to meet. Don't allow that to happen in your relationship. When you see other people succeeding, are you jealous? Or are you an encourager? John Maxwell says we should see in our own kids, and even in other business people, those we work with, we should look at them with a 10 on their forehead. Not a 0, a 10. We don't see them as a jerk or an idiot, he says. When you see them as a 10, they grow to another level. In California, in America, there was a school at the beginning of the year. The board called in 3 of the teachers and said, we want to do an experiment this year. And they said, yes, what do you want to do? And they said, you know, we want you to take on 100 children. We've carefully selected them from great results they've achieved. They felt really good. We said, we've selected you 3 because you are the best teachers. We've looked at all the results. And as you could imagine, the students excelled through the whole year. At the end of the year, the board called the teachers in and said, great work. They thought they would get big bonuses. But the board says, we've got 2 confessions. The first one is, they're not the best 100 students. We just randomly selected them. And they still felt good. They said, well, we've got another confession. You're not the 3 best teachers. But because they believed in the students, they grew to another level. Now, I'm not arguing that it was a great principle they had, but I just want to show you the experiment. When you believe in people, they go to another level. I have a doctor friend of mine who tells me that his brother is jealous of his own kids. One became a doctor. He'd always wanted to be a doctor. One became a leading worship songwriter and singer, and he's always wanted to be a leading songwriter and singer. And I thought if he had another kid and they'd be something else, he'd want to be that as well. No, let's be encouragers of people. Well, when we do, it's part of how we reconcile people on the journey. Number 5, develop a yes face. If you hear me speak, I talk about this a lot because, and Christians are no good at this either, we have miserable faces. So when you get up in the morning and the alarm goes off, do you pick it up and throw it across the room? Or do you see it as an opportunity clock? By the time we get to the breakfast table and work, all we've listened to is death, the destruction and the economy. No wonder we're miserable. So we need to replace that, as I said earlier, with some things. So when we get to work, staff see someone who's a bit different. When we get home, people see us differently. As Christians, we need to be showing a whole different aspect in the world. I had a Christian friend. When the global financial crisis came, he was in the financial world, and when I saw him, he looked like death. I said, what's the problem? He basically said to me, the world's going to end because the financial markets crashed. I said, God's not interested. He's way above all that. You know, he owns a cattle on 1,000 hills, you know. What are you worried about? He's not going to get his bonuses. I said, well, I reckon you're on probably $300,000 or $400,000 a year. And he said, that's correct. I said, well, what are you worried about? He goes, oh, okay, I'm worried about not getting a bonus. What about the people that aren't going to get paid? You know, so as Christians, we've got to send a whole different message, you know, out in the marketplace. And that yes face is really important. In early Old Testament history, when Abraham was about to die, he sent his senior servant to look for a wife for Isaac. And as the servant arrived at the well, he said to God, the first woman that comes out and I ask for a drink, and she says, I'll get it for you and for your camels also, I'll know she's the one. So he arrives, he's at the well, and Rebecca comes out, and he says, will you get me a drink? She said, I'll get it for you and for your camels also. Now, you may not be aware, but there were 10 camels. And each drink 170 to 180 litres of water each. She just created a half-day's job for herself. But Rebecca did what was required, and then some. She didn't know she was going to be rewarded with jewellery, fine clothing, and become a leader of the nation. Her heart was to do what's required and then some. So in our businesses, do we do what's required and then some? In our churches, do we serve, we do what's required and then some? In our relationships, do we do what's required and then some? That's having a yes face. Number 6, what's your foundation? What have you built your business on? Too many businesses collapse because they're built on sand. They've got no principles in place, they've got no foundational things in place, they haven't got operational aspects of doing business. As they grow, the business starts to topple. That only creates conflict, and we start getting into arguments with our partners, with staff members. The boss gets angry with people because we haven't got those foundation things in place. And out of that, how are you going to get those foundations? Well, one of them is being planted in God's house. It says in Psalm 1, those that are planted will flourish. It doesn't say they might, it says they will. And you've got to look at Scripture and what it actually says in a positive sense, not on what we think it says. They will flourish. And you might say, well, I'm not sure, God wants our businesses to be successful. I could give you many examples, but let me tell you about David and Goliath. When David went out to fight Goliath, he asked 3 times what the reward was. And he would get the king's daughter in marriage, described as very beautiful, became a pain in the neck later. Secondly, he would get the king's wealth, and the king was very wealthy. And the third one, and I've got my hand up for this one, he and his family would be exempted from taxes for life. Not a lot of enthusiasm in this room. I reckon that's a good one, being exempted from taxes. And David asked 3 times about that. But he knew there was a greater purpose because he said to Goliath, today you'll know there is a God. So on the journey, there's going to be a reward for you. There's no problems with that. God doesn't have any problems with that. But if we allow money to manage us, we get focused on it only, we cease to treat people in the right way. We become greedy, and I've seen it so many times, and with Christian business people. So let's get our foundation right. Number 7, relationships. You need to build relationships. As business, well, we've been sold the big lie, basically, that family, business, and actually church don't mix. But if your business is going bad, you'll take it home and it affects your relationship, unless you manage it properly. If your marriage is going bad or your relationship with your kids, you take it to work and it affects the relationship with staff and customers. So it does affect it. Ray Kroc, who founded McDonald's, said, I believe in God, the family and McDonald's. But at work, the order is reversed. Well, I've got 2 problems with that. What he's saying is he's a different person on Sunday. So he gives God 2 hours on Sunday and he does what he's like during the week. That isn't going to build reconciliation with anyone. The other problem is he's saying there's a priority. God first, family second, business third, although it reverses at work. I've got a problem with that. I'm becoming convinced there's no priority. Because God wants to be part of our life 24/7. It's not we do one thing at work and we do another thing on the weekend. We do one thing at home and something somewhere else. It is a lifestyle of what God's interested in doing. So, guys, maybe you need to sit your wife down when you ask this question. When you get home, sit them down and say, I want to take you out on a date. I had a guy come to me after speaking and sharing that, and he said, I don't have to do that anymore, I'm married. I said, well, probably for not much longer. I say to guys, date your daughter, your young 7 or 8 year old daughter, show her how she should be treated. Young guys do not know how to treat girls these days. And I had a guy ring me at the end of a week. He said, I went home, my wife thought it was a great idea. So we said to our daughter, 8-year-old, I'm going to take her on a date in 3 days' time. She's planned what she was going to wear, everything for 3 days. The relationship between father and daughter grew to another level. We've just got to, these things help reconcile us in our family, little things. Guys, when you get home and you're on your cell phone, mobile, finish the call before you go inside. Show the family, that you're interested in them. I say to guys, when you get home and you can hear all the fun, everyone's screaming and you're having a great time inside, the door opens and they look at you and everyone goes silent. You've got to ask yourself, there's a problem here. And what am I going to do about it? It's very practical. I could share so many other things. Number 8, keep learning. There's some research out of American University that says at 67 years of age, most people have got nothing new to say. Well, I say at 20, 30, 40, 50, most people have got nothing new to say. Because I was one of them. Until I started to listen, write things down from books, I started to read books, listen to things. Guys, your pastors will preach a good message occasionally. So get a copy of it. Listen to it. You know, write notes. My wife and I write notes every week for the messages. We get things that help us, you know, well, we now have got a business ministry helping other churches grow their business people, but we're getting ideas all the time, getting encouragement in our relationship, and we need to write those things down. You need to keep learning. Use your card as a university. In America, 3% of people have a library card and 6% believe Elvis is alive. So you can see what their priority is on learning. Sorry. It's okay, in Arizona they're different. Maybe not. You know, guys, I used to get really guilty about quiet times because everyone used to say to me, you know, you've got to have it first thing in the morning, then it was last thing at night. And, you know, for a while that worked, but, you know, when the Bible falls on your head at night, I'm going, this is not working. So when I pulled out of the day-to-day of running a business, I spent more time at home, or when I'm home, I sit down mid-afternoon because I wasn't getting any phone calls or emails. That's all changed because it seems to be 24/7 now, so you've got to turn it off. But I used to have quiet time, so I open the Bible, I close my eyes and pray, I go to sleep for 30 minutes. And I used to get really guilty. And then after about 2 months, I thought, no, get a pencil and paper, because every time I woke up, I had all these ideas. I'll write them down and then it'll be all okay. And after 2 more months, I realised I don't need to be guilty. Because when I wake up, I'm getting all these business ideas and solutions. And God's speaking to me. And the only time He can get through to me is when I'm asleep, because I'm talking the rest of the time. So, you know, God's interested in our business and in our walk, in us, you know, reconciling ourselves with our clients, with our staff, with them, and He wants to help us and guide us on the journey. And, you know, early this year, I got this great verse, and my wife says you should read this out of the Message version of the Bible. Now, this is going to really challenge you in business. This is really good. It's from Isaiah chapter 48, verses 6 and 7. Isaiah chapter 48, verses 6 and 7. And it's in the Message version of the Bible. The other versions are good too. God says, I have a lot more to tell you. Things you never knew existed. This isn't a variation on the same old thing. This is new, brand new. Something you'd never guess or dream up. When you hear this, you won't be able to say, I knew that all along. So I used to get these ideas. I was helping people in business. I ring them up and say, I've got this idea for you, or a solution to your problem. And they said, where did you get that from? I said, you probably don't want to know. So they pressured me and I told them. They go, oh. Well, I got excited because God was speaking to every day with things, with ideas, business ideas, helping other people, whatever, because He's interested in the journey. Well, you know, as business people, we get on in age, and some don't even get on in age, but they don't want to do the journey. You know, I don't want to be different. I don't want to stand out from other business people. You know, I want to be as difficult in business. I want to make sure when I do a deal, there's nothing left for anyone else, you know, on the table. You know, I don't want to be, you know, just too pleasant in doing the deal. I just don't want to do the journey in the way that God would want me to do it. Well, imagine what the world would be like if Michelangelo said, I don't paint ceilings. Imagine what the world would be like if Noah said, I don't do boats. If Moses said, I don't do rivers. If David said, I don't do Goliaths. If Mary said, I don't do virgin births. If John the Baptist said, I don't do baptisms. If Peter said, I don't do Gentile discipleships. If Paul says, I don't do letters. Imagine what the world would be like if Jesus said, I don't do crosses. So we're required to do the journey and to build relationships in business, with partners, with staff, with clients, and in our relationships. Well, the future's out there. It's not behind us. My wife and I watched this very old movie years ago called The Gumball Rally. They raced from the east to the west coast of America. No rules. Two of the stars jump in a sports car. You know, that's those cars that don't have any roofs on them. They don't have them in Queensland here because the sun's too hot. But we have a lot in my state. I see there's Queensland people who don't like jokes about them. Anyway, two of the stars jump in. One grabs that rear vision mirror, throws it out the back, and he says, in the Gumball Rally, there's nothing back there will help you. The rear vision mirror is small and distorts the past. We learn from it. The windscreen is wide because that's all the opportunity. And that's where God is birthing ideas. That's where God wants us to go. It's the journey. We're on the journey. And Jesus provided the way of reconciliation, and he's provided that for the future for us, to be people of reconciliation, to win people for Jesus, to create great relationships, and we should not allow things to stop us, deflect us, to change our thinking. We have so much attack on us in the world. I've been attacked so much by the media over the years, and it's all misinformation they get, but they don't care. And it's easy to get angry, but in the end, I'm just doing what I believe God wants me to do. And I said to my wife once, we're helping this ministry, we're only trying to help people, why are they criticising us? And she said, well, that's the way the world thinks. Anything good happening can't be right, unless they're involved in it. And a business succeeding gets criticised. Certainly does in this country, and I'm sure it does in many countries. But, you know, our life's like a book. We're only in one chapter at the moment. But a book has many chapters. Don't stop in the chapter. If you're currently struggling, it's only a chapter. Learn to move through the chapter. Because one day we get to the final chapter, and we all know the title of the final chapter. We win. But we have to do the journey. And there's no use waking up and saying, I've finished the journey, but you miss all the great things on the journey that God's going to take us through. All that learning. So the journey is there, and we need to make a difference. So there's a few thoughts about being on that journey, those 8 things. A couple of resources just out there on the right. I'll be out there at lunchtime. I've already mentioned Winning Business, the 20 keys to catapult you to your vision. There's actually a lot of stories. I only told a few stories here. There's a lot more in there. And it's not just about business, it's about integrity, it's relationships, and about also some keys on marketing. A second book I put out was Building Your Business, Your People, Your Life. And when my wife and I put this together, we actually finished the last chapter on faith. It talks about in business you need to have faith, but we actually then move towards the end of the chapter, you need the real faith. And we go through that, you know, so it's a great opportunity to get a message into people's hands. And the other resource I've got there is a USB or pen drive, and it's got a lot of content on there. It's got 5 audio talks and 2 video talks and 4 mini workbooks that you can print off. That you just push the little USB out and stick it in a laptop, whatever you do with them. And 4 mini workbooks. One's on building an actionable plan, take your business to a new level or starting a business. One on marketing, the keys to marketing. It's about 12 pages, and it has a template, a 1-page template of 8 questions to ask yourself before you get marketing done. Because we brief people to do advertising and marketing, and we actually confuse them. This will give you the 8 questions to get clear in your own head. And as I said, the talks are there. The keys to catapult you to success, the power of leadership, using what God's got in your hand, which I'm doing a brief around that sort of theme tomorrow. And building your business, your people, your life. It's a different talk to the book. So there's a whole lot of content there. So come and see me after. I'll be out near there. Now, we've got a few minutes, I think. Correct? Yep. So what I want you to do, you should have pen and paper. If not, break someone else's pen in half and use that. And just write down one area that you need to create reconciliation in your business or your career. Maybe someone you work with, there's now a wedge, or there's a disagreement that's causing a problem in partnerships. Write one thing down, or in your ministry or in church, write down one thing that's causing an issue that you need to go back and work on. And the second question is, what is one issue that may be affecting your relationship at home? There may be a disagreement. There may be an attitude, I'm more important than you. I earn the money, you do. You've got to look after me. It could be anything that's causing an issue in your relationship. So just spend 2 or 3 minutes just writing those down. It won't take long because they'll come to mind really quickly.